Hello, everybody. This is William del Pilar, and this is Red, White, and Rude. But first of all, some business to take care of. As some of you may know or may not know, we have just changed over to grumblingsmedia.com, and you can check out this podcast. You can check out our other podcasts. For example, we have our political podcast, Fired Up. We have our libertarian podcast, Free for All. And we have Big John with the Big Questions with Big John. And right now, he has a great interview series with libertarian candidates running for president. Before I get to my guests, again, grumblingsmedia.com. You can listen to our podcast at YouTube and Rumble under the Grumblings Media moniker. You can also listen to it on Apple, Google, Spotify, and Pandora. I'd like to introduce you a really good guy, a guy I've known for many years now. We've had our battles. We argue about things because we both have opinions on everything. So I've wanted to work with him for a while. And what I like about working with this guy, or being friends and knowing him, is what you see is what you get. He's not going to sugarcoat it and hold back, which is kind of like I am. But even then, when you get a friendship like that, I kind of hold back a little bit because this guy's been successful. Law school, a cop, a martial arts instructor. So he succeeded at whatever he's done in life. And it gives me great pleasure, though I may regret it down the road, to welcome Sean King as my co-host. Sean, I've kind of told them a little bit about you. One, how are you doing? And then let the audience know what you would like them to know about yourself.
Wow, I don't know if I can live up to anything after that. That was quite the introduction. It sounds like I've accomplished something in life when I really haven't. But no, I think you've covered most of it. I recently retired from law enforcement, so now I can say and do whatever I want, not have to worry about the repercussions of getting fired. So it's quite liberating.
And you know, that brings up a good point, a little bit of inside baseball, people. We've been testing this show with Sean and a different host, but the downside is that host, the co-host he had, has to worry about their job and getting canceled. And because we're not allowed to say, I mean, we're back into the pre-civil rights era, except this time it's conservatives and Anglos who can't say the truth without getting canceled and persecuted. And I mean, my God, somebody just went to jail for doing a Hillary meme or something to that effect. And let's go back to Benghazi. They sent the guy who did the video, which had nothing to do with Benghazi, to jail as a scapegoat. So we are living in dark times. But what is the Red, White, and Rude podcast? Red, White, and Rude podcast is our entertainment podcast, our pop culture podcast. And the reason I wanted to do this is Sean, the average guy will be able to, you heard me say this before, the average guy can tell you how big and how beautiful that booty of Kim Kardashian's is, but because they stay attuned into entertainment, but they can't tell you how they're being bent over politically. It's the dynamics make perfect sense. One is fun to know about, listen to, and watch, whereas the other is tedious. You have to be meticulous about knowing how the government's screwing you. And that's the reason I want to do this podcast, is because I truly believe a lot of our political talk, our political beliefs stem from the entertainment industry, pop culture, and things of that nature. Am I right or wrong? What's your take on that?
I would say that's the problem in our societies. We listen to these so-called celebrities and take their guidance in some of our political decisions. I know we're probably going to talk about Travis Kelce here in a little bit, and he's done commercials on the vaccine. So people watch that, and he's no doctor, but they trust him because he can catch a football for some reason. So
no, I agree. And it's funny, in the 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s, we had a lot of racism. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. But the 50s began the greatness of America. And we were a mostly conservative country. In fact, what people forget and they don't want to remember is in the early 40s, a lot of professional athletes and well-made and very famous actors dropped what they were doing and went to serve. Now they're going to sit there and protest it. It's the dynamics have switched, but that's because the other side, the liberal side, understood the power. And they took over. In the 60s, it was a concerted effort, and right now they're winning. But podcasts like this will help share the truth with a lot of fun. Today, what are we going to discuss today? Well, it's been a couple of weeks. But Friends had such an impact on this country. And I don't care if you don't like it, people, because it had the impact, whether you liked it or not. It was one of the most popular comedies of all time. And Matthew Perry, a.k.a. Chandler Bing, is dead at 54 a couple of weeks ago. We're going to talk about that, his legacy, the cause of death, his drug history, Sean's reaction, my reaction, what his favorite Friends episode was. And we will answer the question, were they on a break? We can discuss it, Sean, but it's already been answered. And then we're going to move on to, is it Traylor? Is it Tayvis? Or is it the Swelce show? Travis, Kelce, and Taylor, Taylor Swift. Oh my God! You know, I did not know what Swifties were until all this came about. But I mean, she's so much younger than us, and today's music is so fragmented that today's stars numbers are minuscule compared to the stars of yesterday, but that's just the way we live today. And we're going to end it with, we were going to talk about originally when we laid out the podcast, we were going to talk about our theaters dying, and we were going to use the Miss Marvel or the Marvels movie. Well, the Marvels movie is another woke movie that's bombed, and Sean and I are going to talk about woke movies and bombing and the Marvels, and I've thrown a lot of information Sean's way, but I know he has his own opinions. Are you ready to get going here, brother Sean?
Yes, let's do this.
All right. Well, first of all, what was your reaction to Matthew Perry passing away? I mean, he was only 54, and that's around my age, and maybe 10 years younger than you. But I'm sorry, 10 years older than you. But what was your reaction? I mean, he's an icon, or Chandler Bing is, the show Friends.
Well, I can't say that I was surprised. If you'd seen recent pictures of him, health-wise, he looked very overweight and just looked terrible in that aspect. But when anybody dies that young, that has had a past drug issue, that's immediately what I know we're still waiting for the final autopsy results, but I'd be really shocked if there's not some type of drugs and alcohol involved.
Well, here's the funny part. 10 years ago, or I'm sorry, 5 years ago, before COVID, they would have come out and probably said cardiac arrest. As a diver, I've been on, my dive partner died. I've been on dives where other people had died. It's just after 30 years of diving, that tends to happen. And usually 99.9% is cardiac arrest. That's what the doctors say, because they don't know what happened in the water. So they make a great assumption, and I'm sure once they get into an autopsy, things come out. But the fact that they avoided saying that tells me we are living in the political medicinal world now, because how many people are dropping dead? What's that saying? Died suddenly, and now they're not saying what the cause of death is, because now it's a fact. It's not conjecture that these COVID vaccines cause myocarditis. I'm not saying he died of myocarditis, people, but I'm saying you can't ignore that fact. The people who do, they're nothing but freaking bleeping liars. Did he die because of that? No. But at 54, now you're right. He was looking rough. Part of the reason he was looking rough is because he was a drug addict and he was clean. So he probably gained some weight, finding another alternative, but he had become a pickleball fan. I had no clue what pickleball is outside. It looks like a badminton or tennis court, and it's a different form of tennis, I guess, but that's what he was using to keep his mind off drugs. And speaking of drugs, he had a history of alcohol abuse. In 1997, he had a jet ski accident, Vicodin. He lost 20 pounds. He did rehab 15 times. So when I saw his death, my reaction was just sadness because he was only 54. That was it. He doesn't affect my world or anything. But it was sadness because 54 and to die and you're not ready to die, there's some sadness. And I know it sounds terrible to say it, but it's also sadness for those people who were holding out hope for an actual Friends reboot or comeback. So it kind of ends a couple of things that from a business and personal perspective. But what do you say about this alcohol, the Vicodin, the 20 pounds? You kind of alluded to him being overweight and looking terrible. But like I said, sometimes people gain weight, and he has looked terrible more times than, those 10 years were the best he looked. He looked terrible after that. But I think part of that is who he was. He was a middle-aged man at that point, and his metabolism, we were seeing what he really looked like. But what's your take with the alcohol, Vicodin, the rehab 15 times?
Well, unfortunately, I've never had a drug problem or gone to rehab, but from people that I've known that have done it, you go numerous times like this. There's a serious issue. You said 15 times, so just betting odds, I'm saying he relapsed. And I was reading an article that his one of his ex-girlfriends commented that his most recent Instagram post before he died, he called himself Mat Man. And she said, and
Yeah.
she said that's the way he talked when he was high. He called himself Mat Man because he thought he
Oh.
was invincible. And so she is alluding to the fact that she's still waiting for the autopsy to come back, but she'd be shocked if he was not on some type of drugs. And for the fact that the police said no drugs were found around the house, she also commented saying, "Hey, I was there when he got high. He didn't leave drugs around. He was embarrassed about it, so he would use them, hide them, do whatever." So just somebody like that who's an ex-girlfriend that knows him so well also alluding to it makes me think that unfortunately he probably may have relapsed again.
Right. He may have. That is kind of sad, but it is tough. I push cannabis, but I tell people I push cannabis because it's as harmful as Sean and I have argued about this in the middle of training when he's training me and I'm throwing punches and we're arguing about it. But I view cannabis kind of like alcohol. If but Sean, let me digress for a moment, people. Me and Sean have always argued about this, but this is what I will concede today about cannabis. It is about 20 times stronger than when I was a kid. When I thought about that many moons ago, I realized, yeah, he's right in that sense. That stuff will knock your ass out today compared to the old days. But still, it's not a violent drug in the sense when you take it, you're like an alcoholic wanting to kill the world. Uh, but I just think at the you know what? I kind of lost my train of thought there. Where was it? So let me pass it on to you,
There
back to
might have
you,
been too
Sean.
much cannabis over the course of your life. That's why you lost
I
it.
know. That's what I was talking about. That's what I was talking about. No, it wasn't a cannabis. Oh dear
It,
God, you can't be doing podcasting stoned, though. I'm sure many
yeah.
have. People, I grew up with cannabis because I was born and raised in Panama. Is what I'm trying to say. So cannabis, I've always known about it. Always known about it, its effects firsthand because I was always around it. But that said, it's a mental addiction. Cannabis is not a physical addiction; it's a mental addiction. But all drugs have the downsides. Again, cannabis being a mental addiction, but alcohol is a physical addiction. And 15 times in rehab, that does not shock me. From what I read about some of these rehabs, especially the volunteer ones, you can go in and go out. It's I think the best rehab, and I'm not saying do this, but I'm saying the mentality of how hard it is prison. They don't care. You don't have the drugs. You're going to go cold turkey. You're going to throw up, puke, whatever, but you're going to get over it. These rehabs, it's about taking care of you while you go through those symptoms, about giving you a different drug so you don't feel as bad during the withdrawal of this drug. So our rehab system is too civilized. Sometimes I think certain things in life have to be Spartan-esque to get over them. And so I'm not stunned at 15 times. We talked about his death. Going back to my take, this is pure conversational speculation, people, like we have in our kitchens. So we're not saying this is what happened. But on his death, though, what are your thoughts in terms of what you think is going to come back?
You mean in terms of his autopsy? I
Correct.
think I've already pretty much said it right here. I think he relapsed prescription drugs, possibly, because I know the initial test for fentanyl and meth came back negative, but they have to do further
Correct.
tests for other stuff. And from what I understand, he had a Vicodin problem, those. So he seems like he's been a prescription slash alcohol type person, and typically people don't deviate from their standard, shall we say, drugs. And I think that's what's going to find. He maybe took some Xanax and boom, he passed out in the hot tub, and that's what caused the drowning.
Could be. It could be. Uh, Everything, all the reports, as I'm sure you saw, right when he died, were how clean it was, how clean it was. That was obviously the precedent that his agent, his friends, and his family wanted to push as the narrative that he was clean. Like you said, the autopsy for further testing will tell us that. I don't know what killed him. All I know is he's 54. taking it at face value, he's clean. Physically, he's not looking facially great, handsome, or whatever. He was never a handsome guy, but that's a byproduct of the alcoholism, the Vicodin, the drugs. That rips up your physical look. So I don't. I'll give him a pass on that. Meaning, I don't look at that as indicative of him where he was at today. But again, 54, he's vaxxed. Probably multiple
Well, he
times.
had a shirt.
The scientific data is out there too, stating that it causes myocarditis. And he's exerting himself doing pickleball. Do you exert yourself doing pickleball? I assume do. When I say that joke, pickleballers get mad. So I assume there's some kind of movement in that hobby. Do you know about pickleball, Sean? You want to tell us about pickleball?
I've never played it, but I know that's what my mom, who's 70 something, does as her hobby for exercise. So it's a little bit of movement, but it can't be dramatically that much, or all these 70-year-olds would probably be dropping on the pickleball court.
But so we don't know what he passed away. Honestly, uh, hopefully he just died naturally. Maybe he just abused his body and just passed away on his own. Who knows? I mean, I don't know if people remember because probably it's pre-Iron Man, but Robert Downey Jr. It did a phenomenal movie called Less Than Zero. I loved it. It was very moving to me because I was of that age when it happened. And at the end, spoiler alert, if you want to see it, I'll give you 1, 2, 3. He dies at the end, and he just dies. I think he's in the back of the car or something. God, it's been 20, 30 years, I guess, since the movie came out, and he just dies. And maybe that's what happened. Who knows? Who knows? That said, his legacy, he wanted to be remembered for helping people with their own drug addiction. He'll never be remembered for that, but from what I read, he did a lot to try to help other people. So that's a great legacy. Your thoughts? Will he be remembered for what he wanted to be remembered, or do you think it's Friends? No ifs, ands, or
I'm
buts.
sorry, it's going to be Friends, especially, if I'm a betting man and the autopsy comes back like I think, it's going to be for Friends. That's what he's
There
known
you
for.
go. Favorite Friends episode?
Quite honestly, I never really watched the show.
I will back you up on that. I watched it, but I did not watch its entire run. And in fact, I have yet to see the last episode. It was a great show. It had great chemistry, but there's a lot of stupid in it too, And it just wasn't my world. My world was more Latino, more military, more that. So I never got into the college frat scene. That's what they were. They were an extension of a college frat house with men and women. But it was a funny show. Well worth the adulation it got. It was strong and 10 years. It made them zillionaires, So, but what Friends became famous for, even outside, meaning if you never watched it, but everybody knew who Friends was, everybody did know about this term, the break. Since you never watched it, I'll set it up. So the break began in season 3. Ross was insecure. Rachel's career was taking off. And he was disrupting her day, trying to get their attention. And she was getting angry. So I guess they broke up. They were on a break. She could deal with his neediness, yada, yada, yada. To me, that's a break. They're on a break to say to me that you broke up, As a sailor, as a single guy, as a man, boo, I am out there. They were on a break. What say you, brother?
I guess I'd have to watch the episode. I was such a Seinfeld guy, so that was my show. So the stuff, hearing about the break and all that, I've watched parts of episodes and I know they had lots of guest stars, but I can't really tell you if I'd have to watch that episode. Maybe that's one I'll bust out tonight.
Well, a little inside the weeds for the audience, in case you don't know. There was a user that pointed out there was an episode where Rachel tells Monica that she and Ross had in fact broken up. And that would mean they're on a break. And then during the reunion, they came out and said, "Yeah, we were on a break." But anyway, rest in peace, Chandler Bing. You made us laugh. You made your mark on life. Sadly, what I always tell every would-be wannabe actor, singer, you will be forgotten over time. But it doesn't matter because so many memories in terms of people you impacted will last for a few generations at least. Sean, any final words on Matthew Perry?
No, it's always sad when someone dies at 54. That's too young to be going.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's the biggest kicker for me, 54, because I'm about that age, and uh, at maybe in your 50s, because I started looking at death, in certain ways, and the way this world is going, I'm like, whew, man, maybe it's a good thing I'm closer to it than farther from it. Okay, moving on though, my friends. As I said earlier, is it Traylor? Is it Tayvis? Or is it the Swelce hot couple right now? Which name do you like out of those best?
Hmm. Go with, well, Tavis.
You like
Yeah,
Tavis? I like Traylor because it sounds very rednecky. And I'm like, that's so opposite of all of the Swifties. But Kansas City, Travis Kelce looks like a good old country boy. So I love Traylor. But for those who may not realize what we're talking about the Travis. I was about to say Travis Taylor, the Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift romance. For those not aware, and anybody under the age of 30 is probably unaware, Swift is actually quite an accomplished musician, 12-time Grammy Award winner. She's 33 years old, which is funny because when I hear her name, I still think of a little teenage pop icon. But she's also a billionaire. When you hear the name Taylor Swift, what do you think, Sean?
quite honestly, I still would have thought she was in her 20s because that's how I remember her. But I mean, it's only
Yeah.
recently that I've been able to adjust that Britney Spears is 40 and not, 20 something herself. So I sort of think of them in the same, I think of them in the same genre, but I guess they're a little off.
Britney Spears is like 40 and wants to have sex with everybody, it seems like, based off her Instagram. I'm like, Mama, where are you at? God bless Britney Spears. I mean, she's been trapped like a cage animal for what, like 10 years, with her father controlling her assets and, in essence, controlling her life. But anyway, back to Traylor or Tavis. Take your pick. So her and Travis Kelce have obviously gone public with their long rumored relationship. She's been spotted in multiple NFL games cheering for Kelce and the Chiefs, along with the rest of the family. And for those who don't know Travis Kelce, everybody's heard the name Taylor Swift. They may not know who she is. They may not, like me, be able to tell you what song. If I heard it right now, you could put a gun in my head. I say, I don't know who that is. But I know who Taylor Swift is. But not everybody has even heard of Travis Kelce. He's a two-time Super Bowl champ. He's a commercial pitchman, as I read it in an article. And what was news to me, he even had his own dating show years ago. So I didn't know that. But some people, Sean, have said, well, this may be a put-on affair for show, for business. Before you do your take, my take is no. One, they're both well off. Kelce has a big ego, so why would he go to a woman who's so financially better off, more successful, everything, in terms of what a man like him, not that they fear or don't like, but it's so untraditional. And why would Taylor Swift do it? She's a billionaire. So I think those people saying, oh, this is a business proposition, if it is, it's coming from the Kelce camp. But I mean, he's not all world James Bond, model look. So I kind of think there's probably some love in the air here. What do you think, business or love?
Well, I'd say love. If it was business, I think it'd be more from, like you pointed out, his end. He needs her more than she needs him. Um, you know, she's dated numerous famous people and then usually writes a song about it. So he's probably next in line if they break up to get torn apart in a song. But I think he needs her more, and that's if it was business. But I think it's actually love, but it's a little over the top in my opinion. How everybody's going crazy. Is she going to be at the game? And who are they sitting in the press box with? It's ridiculous at this point.
It's terrible. No, it is. It's cartoonish in a way. It's funny what you said about Taylor Swift and writing songs after her breakups. I remember when Billy Joel, and who was that tall, beautiful model he was married
Christy
to?
Brinkley?
Christy Brinkley. She was famous, just as famous as probably one of the most famous models of her time, and even to this day. When they broke up, I had a friend go, thank God, man, thank God Billy Joel can finally go to writing beautiful love songs of heartbreak. And it seems like in music, the best music we get is after somebody's been ravaged in the most negative form, by their significant other, and they write about it. Am I wrong or right on that? Yeah, are the greatest love songs written by actual breakups?
It's always after a heartbreak. I mean, they do have the I love one, so it's either really a lot of love or getting destroyed. There's no middle ground for a song. You need some inspiration, and yeah, we can get off on a tangent. But how did Billy Joel get Christy Brinkley? I'm no model, but Billy Joel, come on, he's
Man had a big wallet. I mean, that was equivalent of Brinkley being Travis Kelce and Billy Joel being Swift. He was out of his league. But look, I'm sorry, people. I remember. It doesn't matter if you're famous in front of the camera, but when you're well known in an industry, people want you. Women want you. Men want you. If you're a woman, it's power. That's what it is. It's power. Taylor Swift is a very powerful individual. Now, money brings power in many ways, but you also take power. And Taylor Swift, because of her position, her standing, her business deals, how strong her songs were, she's a powerhouse in the music industry. And that's what that boils down to. I mean, honestly, I think being a rock star is the ultimate aphrodisiac for any woman. I mean, look at Aerosmith. I mean, look at Tyler. That was a Steven Tyler. I mean, look at Motley Crue. I mean, there's some fugly men in rock, and they get some of the most beautiful women. Oh, it's love, Mom. I really love him. She goes, I do too. Just have him keep cutting those checks to me. All right, all right. I don't know. Are you aware of the Travis timeline? I don't really want to talk about that, but in essence, in July, they met with, what was it, friendship bracelets, and that's how got the talk going. And they may have already been dating by then, and that was their way of making it come out. I don't know. But September, they invited Swifty to the football game, and that's when the internet melted down. Sean, neither one of us were alive, but we've all seen the film, and we all know the lore, and they're still exponentially more popular than the average band today. But I saw a scene of Taylor Swift supposedly in a restaurant in Miami, and it was swarmed. Like that, you couldn't get in or out of that for about 50 yards. That's how packed it was. Is Taylor Swift kind of like Beatlemania? Is she this generation's version of that? Or maybe the Monkees?
well,
They were big too, as big as the Beatles at one
I'd
point.
say at this point she is. Is she going to have the same lasting legacy as the Beatles? I don't,
Oh, no.
music wise, not even close. But I mean, this is what happens in our society. There's like a window. I don't know how long hers will last. And, people go crazy. And then there's the new flavor of the month comes in. And then, people go crazy. It's really rare that somebody is known for generations like the Beatles, the Elvises. People like that have the craziness at the time, but it continues. Their legacy grows. I mean, even after they're gone.
There's something about the 1970s, and Elvis transcended into the 1970s, meaning he died in 77. He was still on top of the world with his concerts. And the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and maybe into the early 90s, that's when music was completely written by the musician, by these groups. I remember a girl worked for me, and her boyfriend was a rapper, and she was on the phone. I'm like, who are you calling? Just out of curiosity. Oh, I'm buying some music for my boyfriend. I go, what do you mean buy music? He's a rapper, so he buys the beats. And it's music isn't music. I think because technology has completely changed it. Tell me the last time you heard a jingle from a popular song, regardless of era. 99.9% that era is the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Last night we just heard Cyndi Lauper. How many times do you hear Queen commercials? So I don't think she'll be remembered either. Now, in her defense, music is so fragmented. When I grew up, it was just one style of rock, one style of music station that played all the forms of rock. It wasn't until the mid 80s when the fragmentation started to get enough people attracted, whether it was rhythm and blues, which had always been around, but then it kind of took off. People forget Queen's Another One Bites the Dust was one of the very few commercial big songs that crossed into rhythm and blues, into the black genre. But then you have country. So in her defense, we are so fragmented, nobody's going to remember her in 20, 30 years. They'll know in terms of remembering her music. Hell, I don't even know her music today. Am I right or wrong with my theory there?
I say you're right, except there's one caveat since we're talking about death so much. If she were to die suddenly in the next few years, I think that would help her legacy because pretty much anybody that has died, their legacy has grown bigger because of it. The Beatles, several of them, John Lennon, Elvis died, not at the peak of his career or anything, obviously, but he died earlier than you would expect. Since you talked
I
about,
think 47.
martial arts, Bruce Lee died, in his low 30s. So if she were to pass away, I would say it might keep her alive for generations because she's at her peak and she passes away, sort of like Bruce Lee, then you become larger than life. But if say she just keeps going on and becomes like Madonna and just keeps sticking around until she's 70, she'll be forgotten about at that point.
That's a great point, and I can't argue it, but I know there have been other singers who have died, and we've forgotten them. Not because we're bad human beings; it's that's how it works. I think she'll be forgotten, not because of anything you said. It's just because the way we're so fragmented as a society. I think I always tell people fame is fleeting. I mean, it really is. John Forsythe, I ran across, I was doing some research for this, and his name came up. Do you even remember him?
Yeah, he was an actor, wasn't he?
One of the biggest stars in the 50s, 60s, and then he had a resurgence. He was I never watched it, but Dynasty
Oh
was
yeah.
one of the biggest shows in America, and that kind of as a senior that catapulted him. He became this elegant senior, one of the biggest stars. You know, Look at that. Yeah, I think he did TV or something. That's what happens. And I'm not knocking it. I'm just like Taylor and Travis, Traylor, enjoy your fame, enjoy your fun, and live life to the fullest, which I'm sure you are being a billionaire, and Travis living it up right now. Now, real quick here, what do you think of this? This is why I think this benefits Travis Kelce. Where's it at? Where's my notes? Did you see the note on his jersey sales?
Oh yeah, went through the roof probably.
Yeah, 400% increase in his jersey sale. And pet sitting service, Rover. Actually, just Rover. I said Rover. They reported that Kelce is the number one trending dog name in the U.S. God bless you. I'd never name a dog
Oh, good.
Kelce. Yo, Kelce, come on. Yeah. Speaking of dog, there's my dog outside. All righty. A couple of more notes. It's become incredibly overwhelming for his immediate family members. What do you think about this and the family?
Did wasn't the family meeting him at the football game, sitting with her and everything? I'm not like I said.
Yeah, but they're saying it's kind of overwhelming, and their lives have changed because of the paparazzi.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, Travis was a well above average football player, but in general, he probably walks down the street, without his helmet off. 90% of the people are not going to be able to identify him. So him and his family can still have somewhat of a normal life, probably. But there's no way of
Exactly.
that happening with her around. She's on stage. You see her all the time. There's images of her everywhere. Him, yeah, he's getting more out there, but generally, especially with football players, they wear helmets the whole game. So I couldn't
Yeah.
identify half the play. If they have their helmets off, it's like a girl, that I used to work with. They'd put their hair up, and then you'd see them outside of work with their hair down, and you'd be like, and you had to do a double take. You didn't know that's the same person. So I mean, for him,
Right.
that's a big thing.
You know, though I agree. Even as a kid, you know, I recognize that. I always felt that football players were the worst position marketing outside of the quarterback, and it's just a tough situation for them, you know. Any final words on Traylor?
Well, good luck to him, and I'm looking forward to the song she writes. I'll actually listen to it to see what happens when they break up. That's when I'll pay attention.
uh, And for those who heard my dog in the background, yes, 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 I have a home studio. And sadly, his buddy passed away a few days ago. So he's been a little lost looking around for him. And with me locked up in here, he's probably like, where the hell's everybody at? Where's my brother at? God bless. God bless the animals. You know, they give nothing but unconditional love. All right. So let's move on. This is my favorite topic, Sean, for the evening. And it's because I've already talked about this. I wrote 2 articles on the Blue Beetle and how Hollywood has become overtly bigoted. They've become overly racist. And when I say that, what I'm saying, they're just blatantly open about calling people names, making excuses for failures. And they're blaming it on you, Sean King, being white, having that American flag there, wearing that ball cap and that t-shirt, that you're just a racist just because of what I just said. And that's why you won't go see these movies. Let me set it up here for the audience. For 15 years, thank you, Variety.com, Disney's Marvel Cinematic Universe had 32 blockbusters in a row. Now, some of them did not make the money they thought they would, but they were blockbusters nevertheless. The first Miss Marvel was a blockbuster, but when you look at the Avengers blockbuster, think of an aircraft carrier. When you look at Miss Marvel's blockbuster, think of a tugboat. That's the difference in terms of profit margin. But they were the gold standard of big tent movies, and they lost what's made them successful. When you're checking the box for diversity, equity, inclusion, gender, whatever you want to throw in there that's politically correct, eventually people are going to go, why am I spending $20 times 4, which is in excess of $100 some odd for tickets to go see a movie that berates you, that tells you you're useless, that tells you you're the worst excuse of a human being and all the problems are because of you? Because that's what these movies are doing. And for example, Batman's one of the greatest superheroes in American history. Granted, he's fake fantasy, but it's a whole culture of America. Superman, Batman, the Justice League, Spider-Man, etc. When you get a movie like the Blue Beetle and a Latino says, well, Batman's a fascist. As a Latino who knows what America means, I don't know, you freaking piece of bleep moron. If it wasn't for that white woman, Sandra Bullock, your ass be dead or in jail. But here you are crapping on white people. But that was a reason to crap on Batman. He was a white superhero who represented America for many decades. He's a fascist. So that's what I mean by them telling you you're the problem. The innuendos like that, you know. And Variety, the author, I don't know who he was, brought up a great point. When you have an actor like Robert Downey Jr. with his wonderful comeback story of becoming successful. I mean, as a kid, we're not kids anymore, but as a kid, you look at him, you want to be him. He's Iron Man. Then you replace that with a feminazi movie in Captain Marvel with Brie Larson, and her reviews were horrific in her portrayal. It's going from the majors into the minors. So I've kind of set it up there. What are your initial thoughts in what I've said in terms of these woke movies, these superhero movies? Marvel and Disney have gone woke. Do you agree with me, or a different take, or what's your take?
No, I definitely think it's gone. I'm not going to see that movie because I saw actually the preview while I was at another movie, and yes, okay, there, hey, let's make sure we got 3 females and one's black and one's, I don't know if she's Hispanic or Indian, I don't know. And then you got Bree who's white. But besides that, the story was from the preview looked absolutely terrible, but they're just shoving it down and they keep changing the characters, feeling that they got to have more inclusion, more equity. But that's not the comic books that everybody grew up on. That's not, if the reason, Spider-Man's successful is people grew up with him a certain way. He's the nerd that did this, and this. You don't need to shove certain stuff into the story and change it just because we can have equity. Which, Brie Larson went on
Right.
this whole equity and inclusion thing for, movie critics and this and
Yes.
this. She's a white woman. I mean, my God, you know, she's insulting white men. I'm like, the only thing different, you're white, but it's always, I hate to say this, but it's always white women complaining that other races aren't getting a shot. And it's like, well, you got the lead role. If, give it up then if you think
That's
it's so
right.
terrible.
The problem with liberalism is they want everybody to conform to their beliefs while they keep practicing the old belief. Meaning, oh no, not my job. Oh no, not my gated community. Oh no. Hey, call the cops. There's a brother. There's a Latino walking down the street. That's all the crap they do. But then they tell us to live a life. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. What I'm saying is they're hypocrites. Is what I'm saying. And you're right. As a Latino, I've told this story many times. How I'm walking down the street with, we had just moved to North Carolina. I'm walking down the street with two white kids, we're same age, little kids. I want to say 10, right around there. And he goes, hey, who's that N-word on your porch? That was my grandmother. I've got black brothers. Sean and I have talked about this in the past. And so I never grew up with none of this until I moved to the States. And then it was all shoved down my throat. And, my take is, I find it offensive. I find it disgraceful. I have no respect for that Supreme Court black justice. Why? Because she was chosen because she was black, not because she was qualified. I have no respect for the Latino in the Blue Beetle. Why? Because they were chosen because they're Latino. I have no respect for the Latina in the Marvels because they were chosen because they're Latino, not because they're great actors, not because they fit the role, not because it made a great story. It was because of how they looked. When I say they, minority supremacists, white politicians who understand the power of emotional conflict, keeping us battling each other, having browns and blacks battle against whites because they know they can control. And one of the biggest ways to do this is through entertainment. I've helped so many members of my family, and being one of the lightest, they were all darker than me. Did I help them because I felt obligated to help downtrodden people? No, I helped them because they were my family and I freaking loved them. And I'm such a control freak, I ended up apologizing in a very serious situation. I'm like, God, I'm like my mom, man. And I'm like, you're like my mom. I was like, oh my God, and my mom and my aunt, you never tell their sisters. And the point being, it was family, it was love. It had nothing to do with how we looked. We had our issues with one another, but there was always love. And so I look at all this crap, and that's what I view it as crap. To extend what I said at the opening, 2023, I also wrote about Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, how that was a bust. People don't even realize the Haunted Mansion remake came and went within weeks. The Little Mermaid, they made her black, and they shoved political correctness down the throat. So a parent, oh, we ain't going to see that. We'll get it on video. Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. There's another one with woke issues in it. And then I can't remember. The only movie that escaped that was like 20 years ago, was a feminazi movie with some of its plots, was Barbie. And the reason Barbie was able to escape that entanglement is every kid in America, from the age of, as soon as they can rationalize some kind of semblance, there's Barbie and Ken doll, and there's G.I. Joe. So you weren't going to be able to deny taking your daughter that. So Barbie was able to transcend that. But there was a scene in Barbie that talked about there's no women in the boardrooms or diversity in the boardroom. I'm like, yeah, maybe 20 years ago, 30 years ago, but not today. So they're still trying to lie and create this false narrative. Do you think this is going? I guess what I'm trying to ask is, do you think Hollywood will wake up and start doing good movies again, or actually start doing movies that are actually commercially viable versus indoctrinated identity politics?
No, I don't think so at this rate. Usually money talks, but at this point they seem to be taking enough taking enough losses that you think it would change their thought processes. But at this point, it hasn't. Yeah, I honestly don't know what to say. I think they need to take the best person and not base it on race and base it on the characters that people grew up with, and stop shoving people. People want to go to the movies to be entertained. They don't need to be going there to get guilted about what a terrible person they are, for the color of their skin, or because they didn't put enough, they don't have enough women in the boardroom, or, whatever. And I go to the movies, I go to sporting events, I want to be entertained. I don't want to deal with politics. That's my escape, you know. And
No, you're right, Sean. And for all you woke liberal I can't say the word I want to use. I'm no longer a sailor. But do you know, people, what the origins of movies were? The beginning of the movie's heyday was during the Great Depression. Movies were made to entertain, period. You know, I took a film course in college and I got into a heated debate. I was 28 when I went back to college, so I was a young man, had lived the world. I traveled the world to the military, so I did not take the nonsense. I got into about 4 or 5 battles with various teachers, and I said, well, let's go talk to the dean, because I wouldn't back down. And I got in an argument. Because I pointed it out to the professor. I go, that's what they're made. Well, movies have evolved. Because she was into the artsy fartsy, the film noir, the Woody Allen. I go, you can say what you want, but when people want to go to a movie, they want to go be entertained. I go, you make up a small sector of the movie, professor. And she threatened me in the middle class. So I knocked on that dean's door and says, I got a problem. And I got an A in the course, of course, because it's easier to give you the A and have you go away than to get into a public battle with a 28-year-old who won't back down. But for you people out there, that's what movies were made for, to entertain, not to sit there and use it for messaging. But that said, people don't realize part of the reason the Romans built the Colosseum was to keep those 1 million Romans' minds off of a civil war or revolution. So since the dawn of time, entertainment has been used to take our minds off of more important events. Okay. The Marvels have gotten terrible reviews. A couple of examples, this not just being the Marvels, the Ant-Man movie. The daughter was an anti-police socialist, social justice activist. I haven't seen it. Disney Plus was forced on me, Sean. One day I have Hulu Plus because being a little older, we like cable, the format, but we understood it was dying. So we went to Hulu Plus, which kind of is a quasi-streaming cable service. We got an email one day. We are raising your rates to $5, like $4.99 or $5.99 or something, but we are giving you ESPN Plus and Disney Plus. I can tell you, I've only watched a handful of movies off Disney Plus, and none of the Star Wars crap, none of the She-Hulk, and that's gotten horrific reviews for being a political embarrassment, as I read in one article. I think, Sean, maybe calling individuals like us you and I are both comic book fans from being kids, calling us nasty names, calling us racist, calling us bigots, everything in the book. Maybe that's not a good strategy to get us to go to the movies. What do you think?
Not to get us to spend our money. I don't want to go there and be told what a terrible person I am. And then to be insulted and then hand you money to do it. I mean, I can find someone on the street to insult me for free. You know, I'm not going to.
You know, it's funny. I think of every S&M show. It's like you get the CEO going to the dungeon with the mistress and paying for her to beat him. You're like, yeah, just go pay your wife to beat you, you know? But that said, there were a lot of issues here. I'm trying to regather my notes. What do you think about the dilution? I kind of think there is a little bit of truth to that. I'm going to skip down here and get to some of the reasons people are saying this failed before we get into the financial numbers. The excuses, the true face of racism, which we've talked about already, trying to cancel people, and feminazism. We talked about the face of racism. Marvel director Nia DaCosta, who's really not a veteran, said that woke the people like us, we are virulent and violent and racist and sexist and homophobic. Listen here, darling. My family has every color in the book. Yeah, we are far from racist, but you are a racist, because if we don't agree with you, you call us racist and you hide behind the shield of your skin color. That's not working together. That's not coming together. That's you wanting your cake, which is a horribly baked cake, and then shoving it in our face and telling us to eat it with a smile. We talked about the racism issue, but I just could not let her get away with what she said. Let's go to the canceling issue. They've tried to cancel some critics, including Nerdrotic, Yellow Flash, The Critical Drinker, and Jesse Grant. And these are big YouTubers because they said this movie sucks. What's your take on the cancellation? I mean, what I'm asking is, what's your take on all this, the successful cancellations of the pre-2020 and how they're still trying to do it with less success? And let's take it one step further. How conservatives, not a lot of conservatives, but some conservatives and the whole Jewish sector is getting people who say negative things about Israel canceled, and they're succeeding too. What's your take on this whole cancel
Are you talking the whole
culture?
cancel culture in general, or just in relation to these poor critics who are getting canceled?
Well, first in general, and then how it relates to the critics. It's to me, it's one and the same. It's just the same ball game you're trying to do.
I think
Disagree and they
I
cancel you.
think the whole cancel culture is ridiculous. I mean, it's affecting comedians. You can't correct. I mean, was it The Simpsons? They got rid of Apu because he's an Indian guy and it was too stereotypical for him to work in a convenience
Yeah.
store with that accent. You'd have to cancel the entire Simpsons show because I mean they have what is it, Willie the Irish guy? Why didn't they get rid of him? That's stereotypical. He's walking around in a kilt, with a stupid accent and stuff like that. And then you got, you know, they have what's Mr. Burns's assistant. He's a gay guy, and they make fun of him, you know, stuff like that. That's what's ridiculous about cancel culture is you can't do it. I mean, everybody makes fun of everybody. That's how our society works. It's not to be say mean. There's a mean way to be to people, and then there's not a mean way to be. And cancel culture is just trying to cancel everything. That's why I think entertainment's going down the toilet with these movies. Is they're trying to be so PC. You cannot make a good movie being that PC. That's just not how entertainment works.
I agree, but yet they are, and they're not realizing. And that's the other thing, Sean, is it's not only being PC. We're talking about movies, but this has actually gone its way into television series. I mean, Netflix has a whole bunch of woke shows. They've just gone out and canceled because nobody's watching them. It's horrific, and it's backfiring. What I have always told people, having come from the country called Panama, we saw two dictators, and every immigrant will validate and tell you I am not only right, I'm 100% right, is eventually these people who take power use your emotion, your hate to take power. They turn that right back around on you. It's kind of like in the movies. You see the moron who's helping the bad guy, thinking he's doing a good thing, and towards the end of the movie, you get this shocked face, oh, why? As the bad guy kills him. It's because that's who they are. These politicians, these woke people, this actress Nia DaCosta, she has hate in her heart. I know that sounds corny, but she's filled with rage and hate, despite the fact she's successful. She's her own worst enemy because that hate consumes her. That hate has made her a terrible, horrible human being. And I won't say the next statement because it's a little too cruel, but I believe what I'm not going to say. She's just a terrible person, Now let's talk about the feminazism. It's all women. They're proud of that. They keep shoving that out. I guess I don't collect comics anymore. I haven't collected comics in God, 30 years, And the reason it's not because I stopped enjoying them. After I left the military, I had a decision to make. I was a young kid, having fun. Money or start saving money, more money, And so I ended my love with comics. But about 10, 15 years ago, I looked back and comics were terrible. I saw like they're woke. The art was too simplistic. I mean, it's like, my God, Neil Adams, John Romita, these great artists from the 70s, 80s, Barry Windsor Smith. They're like Da Vinci compared to the crap that's being put out right now. And now there's a strong, women have expanded. God bless them. To me, it's a better qualified person. If it's a woman, it's a woman. But I guess they're all defending the honor of the Marvels movie. They're trying hard to shield for it for, I think, all the wrong reasons. They, as writers and artists, understand best you're not going to sell comics if they're not entertaining. And now they're pushing a non-entertaining movie. What do you think about the feminazi aspect of this movie? I don't really see it as much as the whole political correctness thing, but I kind of view this as feminazism. Women telling women to go out and see a movie because it's made up of women. That's as feminazi as it gets.
Well, yeah, what was that comedy movie about gay guys? And they complained that no one was that. I wish I knew remembered the name right now, but they went and complained after it bombed that everybody was homophobic. And someone put out the stats that if just half the gay population went and saw the movie, it would have been a blockbuster. So even the gay population didn't want to see the movie. So if you make a terrible product that's not entertaining, people are not going to go see it. And If women think this movie's ridiculously crappy, then they're not going to go see it either, regardless if it's got 3 women as the star. They don't just go, hey, women are in it, I'm going to go give them $20 just because they put 3 women in it.
Oh no, I get you. I think it was called Bros.
Is that, yeah, that
The
sounds
movie.
about right.
Yeah, yeah, Bros. And the other one was like the woke, politically correct. I think it wasn't West Side Story, but it was an all Latino. It was mostly Puerto Rican. For the audience, I'm Puerto Rican Panamanian, with a hint of Asian in me that we don't know where it came from. I've never done a DNA test. I need to. But they also blamed because it tanked the first week. And I think you're right. Uh, and it is a small number of women when we were kids who collected comics. And I remember, man, we all flocked to the girls that did, you know. But yeah, I completely agree with you. Some of the excuses that are legit, but this isn't why it failed. You know, the SAG after strike was going on. You know, my take is simple. Wait till after the strike. When you have a movie with that much writing on it, and you've had nothing but bomb after bomb after bomb, who the bleep is making the decisions there? I would have gone, whoa, we got the strike. We can't market this for squat. You know, if I had been at Warner Brothers, I would have pushed the Blue Beetle back. They had 2 bombs with the Flash, and I can't remember, there was, Shazam had bombed. And before then, Black Adam had bombed. And so they were counting on the Blue Beetle to kind of like break that streak. I'm like, well, why release it in August? Why release it during the SAG after strike when these actors who don't have your back because they're not going to promote the movie you paid them to promote, then why release it? Same thing with the Marvels. The SAG after strike has just come to end. Why not wait till say in January? You know, because they're not going to release a movie of that caliber during the holidays. I mean, we already we've seen the reports. They didn't think highly of it. And let's see what else. Having Brie Larson would have helped. That's what they're saying. It would have helped. We talked about the quantity over quality. Too many movies. Do you think? I'm not talking about the streaming. Well, hell, screw it. There is movie fatigue or superhero fatigue, Sean. I will admit that, but I still think there wouldn't be any superhero fatigue if they were quality movies. Address that, and also address my take on the SAG after strike.
Well, definitely the quality is what's going down. If you see with Hollywood, mainly they're regurgitating movie scripts over and over again, and they're just taking old stuff and making it new, but the new stuff is worse. It's terrible writing, it's terrible acting. Like I said, people go to see a good product. As far as the SAG after, whatever strike causing it, yeah, I'm sure promoting it on, those late night talk shows, but those ratings are dropping, so I don't think that's the would have solved the big dilemma, but it may have helped. So if I'm a studio head with a film that's probably one of their highest budgeted ones, I would have delayed the release. They do it all the time. You just delay the release for 3 to 4 months, and then boom, she can go on her little publicity tour, which I don't think would have helped because the movie looks absolutely terrible. And once again, make a good movie. That's all I'm saying. Make a good movie.
No, you are absolutely right. One thing I did not bring up about the race, and I want to address this before we conclude the show because it is very important, and it's a shame on you. In the military, we had a saying, let's go to the dry room and settle it. A dry room was just an empty room where you and the other sailor would go in and take care of business. I saw somebody enter a dry room once. It was an officer and an enlisted. And the enlisted pounded the bleep out of the officer. An officer, to his word, didn't say a word to anybody, but eventually they found out, they transferred him out. But that's how you solve things, And the reason I say that is that's what I want to do to these executives and these critics, to the male Nias out there, because you know what they're doing. I first read the article about The Power of Rings. That's an Amazon series. That's original stories in J.R. Tolkien's Middle Earth, The Hobbit, Lord of the Rings. And they completely created new characters for diversity. They changed everything. So, the fanboys were like, whoa, well, what is this crap? Crap. That's all you heard. Well, what Amazon did to preempt this, because this had been going on with other movies in the pre-release, because what they do is they send movies out and shows out to the critics. and it makes their waves, and they were getting hammered. They started calling these people before anything was happening racist. If they criticize it, it's because they're racist. It's because they're homophobe. It's because they're what's it, transphobe? Is that what it is? Transphobia is transphobe for the
I don't know
transgenders.
if we get if
And
we
that's what
if you
they
get
were.
it wrong, they'll cancel you. So better get the word right.
Yeah. So I mean, so they're attacking these people. So in essence, they know they're producing crap, but to try to salvage it, they want to lie to the audience so you come watch it. So they try to destroy these people who 99.9% of them aren't racist. And I think that is the lowest form. I think we're coming to the end of this because that's failed miserably. And the fact when you talk about it like we are, it kind of nullifies what they're trying to do. What are your thoughts at where we are culturally as a country to where you have studios, minority supremacists, bigots, powerful white people who want to use tribalism to gain more power and more wealth while keeping us at each other's throats? I mean, what's your take on the fact that they now use movies and are open about it?
In turn, you're saying so using the movies to try to get their message across, or
Oh, I apologize. Before the movie even comes out, how they're attacking people who criticize them by just calling them racist, not listening to why they don't like the movie, but just calling them a racist. I mean, to me, that's going to another level. Studios never care what critics did in the sense of all the blogs, articles. There's so many of them out there, but now they're going after some of these high traffic YouTube sites to take these people out by making these false claims. Do you think obviously that's a step too far, but what's your take on what that says about society right now?
it's a terrible precedent in my opinion. If you don't like something, they immediately either call you. It's just pretty much a fallback argument of depending on the movie, you're either anti-gay or white supremacist, you're a racist. It's the fallback that if you don't go see this movie, then you're one of these categories here. Not that I'm not going to see that movie because it's terrible. It's I'm not seeing that movie because I'm this type of person. And it's obviously not being successful because the Marvels didn't do good in forcing everybody to go see it because they're females. So I think the argument is failing, and that's a good thing as far as I'm concerned if it fails.
And I think it is failing, and I think it's failing to a point that the shareholders, there's going to be a shareholder behind the scenes is enough. I think Bob Iger, I think that's his name at Disney. He's struggling right now. He came back to save the company, but what people forget is he's the one who initiated all the wokeness. He's reaping his own reward right now. His hand-picked successor, they fired him and they brought him on board, and he's doing nothing. I think we're going to see a complete seismic shift right around 2024, 2025. And I also think, sadly, violence. If violence is pushed as the racist group BLM and Antifa did, it's going to get ugly. That's my biggest fear. And I hope we don't come to that, but they keep pushing it. They just don't want to stop. So hopefully, and it starts with the corporations. Once these corporations became woke, it kind of changed everything. And the politicians, and what's the worst of it all is our side, the Republican politicians, they don't care enough because they're wealthy. They're happy. They're still have a little bit semblance of power. So they're like, shut up and fall in line. But 80% of America is not, including minorities like myself, many brown and black minorities. So I think because of that pushback, something's going to happen to shift this back into a normalcy mode. And that's my take on it. And I'll give you the final take on the Marvels and the whole cancellation and the whole racism and the whole supremacy from the minorities and everything. The floor is yours,
That
brother.
covers a lot. I'll just end a little bit with the Marvels. I loved the Marvel movies when they first came out because as a kid I always wanted them to make these movies, but the special effects and the technology wasn't there at the time. I mean, the first time I saw Wolverine with his claws coming out of his hand, I was like, you know, 14-year-old me or whatever would have been just blown away at that point. So
Yeah.
I like the movies. Just make a good movie and don't have an agenda behind it. Make a good movie that entertains and people will go to it. That's the most important thing. Make a movie that's entertaining.
I agree wholeheartedly. And I also think, I remember it was 1977. I was looking at the Marvel version of Star Wars. They got the rights to the comic. And it just dawned on me, man, we are so close now to doing superhero movies. Because as a kid, I knew all these various powers. The technology, even as a kid, I still knew the technology wasn't there. So this whole Marvel explosion, I was expecting it. But at the end of the day, just like a comic book, just like a novel series, you got 30 books in the Jack Reacher series, a whole bunch with True Blood and the Vampire series. You have to be entertaining. That's how those books survive. That's how those books keep being written. The James Bond movies, it was never woke. However, the last James Bond movie barely broke even because it was woke. So nothing is impervious to this wokeness. So hopefully we will, there's going to be some saner minds that's going to help bring us together as a country. Because again, I look at my own family. We have black, we have white, we have brown, we have even Asian in our family. So we have it all and we love each other. So that love can transcend color. That I know for a fact. But I, as a Latino, no more. I'm not going to fall in line. And sorry to have dragged you into that, Sean. None of my comments attributed to Sean. They are from William Del Pilar, the conservative Latino, my friends. And with that, let me do some needed promos here. Sean, I want to do this again with you. To everybody, this is mine and Sean's first time doing it. I've known Sean for, I want to say about a decade now. If he's willing, we'll do more of these. But give us your take. Are we wrong? Am I too over the line in my beliefs? I don't think so. I think I'm striking back, not even as hard as the bigots on the left strike at us. I'm trying to strike back with the truth, and tell you from my heart what's happening. But that said, this podcast, Red, White, and Rude, as well as Fired Up, the Big Questions with Big John, Free for All, and our sports show, Points on the Board, can all be found on grumblingsmedia.com. And you can also find us, if you want to view these beautiful mugs, on YouTube and Rumble under the handle Grumblings Media. For you traditional podcasters out there, Apple, Google, Spotify, Pandora, please share this podcast too if you can. That's how we'll grow and we'll continue to move forward. So thank you for listening to Red, White, and Rude. And for Sean and I, until next time, my friends, good night.
Hey everybody, this is Big John from Grumblings Media, and I just want to say thank you for watching our content. If you want to support our efforts here at Grumblings Media, just smash the subscribe button right here, totally free, or just go ahead and consume more of our great content. Click either one of these two boxes.